Located on the banks of the St. Johns River, Jacksonville is the largest city by area in the lower 48 and the most populated Florida city. Just across the St. Johns, northeast of the city, is 46,000 acres known as the Timucuan Ecological and Historic Preserve. This expansive area of wetlands and waterways originally belonged to the Timucua people and includes some of the most beautiful landscapes in all of Florida. It's also rich with history, with some of the oldest pottery remnants ever discovered in America, dating to 2500 BCE, found on this land. If you find yourself in Jacksonville and want to spend some time outdoors away from the crowds, this area is a great place to do it. From the oldest surviving plantation house in the state to a replica of a 16th century fort constructed by the French, and a beach littered with the remains of hundreds of skeletons, making it a photographer's dream. Today, 3 fantastic outdoor experiences in Jacksonville. One of the last intact coastal wetlands on the Atlantic coast, this national preserve is massive, with lots of individual parks, landmarks, and historic sites to explore. We're choosing 3 for today's adventure. At the most northeastern end of the city limits is Big Talbot Island, and the one Florida beach that will make you think you've been transported to a different place far, far away. We're hiking a sandy trail thick with underbrush and enveloped in a dazzling canopy of trees. Along the way, small overlooks perched on the bluff tease the destination, previewing the impacts of erosion on this island. Suddenly, the pathway begins to descend, and the tree canopy opens to showcase a panoramic view of a spectacular, eerie wonderland. This is Boneyard Beach, 3 miles of shoreline along Nassau Sound, sculpted by nature over thousands of years. Famous for the salt-washed skeletons of live oak and cedar trees that once grew near the shore, Boneyard Beach is one of the most unique natural landscapes in all of Florida. Along the shoreline are 30-foot bluffs where you can see the power of Mother Nature firsthand. As the land erodes from wind and wave action, trees tumble to the sands below. What's left is a beach full of elegantly twisted and sun-bleached trunks, roots, and branches. These corpses still have an important job to do in maintaining the region's ecology. They break up wind and wave energy to slow further erosion, keeping the barrier island in place. The island absorbs the fury of hurricane season, protecting Jacksonville and other places inland from being exposed to extreme sea level rise and storm impacts. I fell in love with this beach the first time I laid eyes on it 15 years ago. I still love it just as much today. No 2 trips here are ever the same. The shoreline evolves with every tropical system that flirts with the Atlantic coast. It's estimated the shoreline has lost about 40 feet in less than a decade. The look of the beach also changes with every tide, as wind and waves move the skeletons around. This is the most perfect example of why you live in Florida. This right here. It truly is something to behold as this evolving sculptured graveyard sparks imagination and creativity, especially for us photographers. short 12-mile drive southwest of Boneyard Beach on Fort George Island is a relic of Florida's plantation era. Originally encompassing hundreds of acres on the northern tip of the island, the plantation dates to the 1700s. While it had multiple owners over the years, it is most closely associated with Zephaniah Kingsley, a white European who traded in all types of things, including cotton and human beings. He purchased the entire island, including the cotton and indigo plantation, in the early 1800s. Kingsley brought with him a young West African woman of royal lineage we know today as Anna. She was purchased by Kingsley at a slave auction in Cuba at the age of 13. The two were married and would go on to have 4 children together. When Kingsley granted Anna legal emancipation in 1811, he gave her the responsibility of managing the plantation, something she would do for many years, even acquiring her own land and slaves. She lived separately from her husband, as was a common West African custom, especially in polygamous marriages. That's right, Kingsley had 3 other wives, all slaves, as part of his multiracial family. These are the remains of 25 cabins that housed dozens of enslaved workers at the Kingsley Plantation. The foundations remarkably survive today thanks to their durable construction materials. They're made of tabby, a cement consisting of lime, water, and crushed oyster shells. The slave cabins were arranged in a semicircle pattern, something that wasn't commonly done at southern plantations. The layout at Kingsley Plantation is similar to how many African villages would have been arranged. Today, visitors can walk inside what's left of the slave structures, an important connection to the men, women, and children who lived here. This cabin has been restored to look as it might have in the 19th century. The existence of these structures is significant because most slave quarters at plantations around the South were destroyed following emancipation. Several hundred yards to the north is the main plantation house, with a large center room and 4 one-story pavilions at each corner. This allowed breezes off beautiful Fort George Inlet to circulate through the home during warmer months. At the time we visited, the house was not open for tours, but the waterfront views from the front porch are pretty awesome. Behind the main house is this 2-story kitchen house. Likely constructed in the 1820s, the bottom floor was used for food preparation, while Anna and her children lived on the second floor. This large barn has also survived since Kingsley's era. Like the slave cabins, it too is made out of tabby. Kingsley is the oldest surviving plantation house in the state of Florida. We'll have more on the Kingsley Plantation in a future video. On your way up to Kingsley Plantation, be sure to stop in at the Ribault Club. This stately building opened in the 1920s as a wintertime recreational resort for the elite. Today it serves as an upscale venue for events like weddings, as well as Fort George Island Visitor Center. There's a museum where you can learn more about the island's history, a small bookstore, and clean restrooms. Across the river 13 miles northeast of downtown Jacksonville is our final outdoor experience. Just 1 year before the Spanish established St. Augustine, France was looking to gain a foothold in the Americas, and they attempted to do just that when they founded their own colony called Fort Caroline, named to honor their king, Charles IX. Initially, the French settlement thrived thanks to good relations with the Indians. But those good vibes soon evaporated, and by spring 1565, those living in the colony faced starvation, leaving Fort Caroline vulnerable to attack. By this point, St. Augustine had been established, and King Philip II of Spain sought to remove the French from America. Admiral Pedro Menendez led a group of 500 soldiers north from St. Augustine to attack the weakened Fort Caroline and easily succeeded. Many were killed, and only a handful of survivors were able to flee back to France. This marked the last time the French made any substantial claim in North America. Spanish forces destroyed the original Fort Caroline, only to build one of their own in its place that they dubbed San Mateo. The French exacted revenge by burning the Spanish fort, which was rebuilt again and permanently abandoned within a year. Today, the precise location of the original fort is unknown. Some suggest it might be under the St. Johns River following years of erosion and man-made changes to the river channel. History lovers can visit this reproduction of the OG Fort Caroline near the mouth of the St. Johns. Nestled by the water just outside a pristine forest, most scholars believe this is the general vicinity of the original. Managed by the National Park Service, this modern-day representation of what Fort Caroline might have looked like is based on a 16th century sketch by the colony's resident artist and map maker. Inside are interpretive markers that explain the fort's history in detail, a poster with short biographies of some of the colonists, and cannon replicas. A visitor center at the park entrance, which was not open during our stop here, has exhibits on the fort's history. There's also a small picnic area and a river overlook. The 600-acre Theodore Roosevelt area has miles of thickly wooded nature trails and ample opportunities to view wildlife. A short 3-minute drive east of Fort Caroline is the Ribault National Monument. Situated atop St. John's Bluff, this stone column is a representation of the one that was erected in this very area by French Huguenot navigator and colonizer Jean Ribault. He landed near the mouth of the St. Johns River, which the French called River of May, in 1562. The monument bears the coat of arms of the French king. The overlook provides commanding views of the river below, and on a clear day you can spot Mayport Naval Station and the Atlantic Ocean. The Timucuan Preserve is so large and diverse when it comes to ecology and history, you could spend days exploring and still not see it all. We managed to visit each of the locations highlighted in this video in one day. Whatever you choose to do during your visit, one thing is for certain. You will drive away with a better appreciation of how this area shaped the Florida we know and love today. That's it. That's our look at 3 fantastic outdoor experiences to have here in Jacksonville. Thanks for watching. Until next time.